What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. I hope y'all have been enjoying the first couple days of the Dawning with some new weapons and some new god rolls, updated perk pulls. So we're gonna cover a couple different weapons this week so y'all can get to grinding these for the remainder of the Dawning, because there are some pretty good, interesting builds that you can make with these, as well as these two heavy weapons specifically that I'm gonna cover in the next few days here are very fun to use with some updated perk pools. And this new bad boy right here with the Mistral Lift, this is that 3-round burst adaptive linear fusion rifle that is a void burn in our heavy slot, so pretty good for DPS. Plus it has some pretty interesting perks that you can throw into that 3rd and 4th column for the PvE realm. So first off, for all of our Dawning weapons, we're gonna have the Dawning Surprise Origin trait. Defeating targets awards Dawning gifts. Defeating powerful targets counts as more than one of those targets. So little community research that y'all can read for that, but nothing too crazy unless you're trying to farm more of those Dawning gifts, and very good at least for you farming god rolls as well. On top of that, we got, which makes this thing in PvE absolutely nutty in my personal opinion, we got ourselves the Veist Stinger. So damaging a enemy with this weapon has a small chance to reload the magazine and increase movement speed while ADSing. Bows receive faster draw time, swords receive a faster charge rate. So for us, when we're doing damage with this weapon, it's basically going to refill itself every single time that we're getting those hits, or after a few of those hits in a row. Very good perk for extended DPS phases with something like this with a linear fusion rifle. Inside of our barrel for PvE, we're gonna go with a reload masterwork and small bore with that stability and range on this bad boy. Since it is a 3-round burst, I like this as my barrel because it gives us a little bit of extra range that we're not getting because it is a 3-round burst, as well as that stability that we're not getting because it's a 3-round burst. Plus with that reload, when it finally runs out after Veist Stinger, we are going to be able to reload pretty quickly. In our battery for this bad boy, I would go with liquid coils because we are getting increased damage for this. It's +3 to our impact, better for that DPS side of it. We do get a little slower charge time, but it's really not that big of a deal in my personal opinion. Still shoots pretty fast, plus we're gonna be continuously railing those enemies with this because of that Veist Stinger and how fast it shoots and will reload. 3rd column, we got a few different options for sure. I'll cover the 2 that I like the most, with 2 that are kind of the same thing and totally up to you. With the first one right here, Withering Gaze, a new trait from this Revenant episode. Aiming the weapon for a short period of time without firing grants the ability to weaken the next target it hits. Timer resets after firing or when you stop ADSing. A very fun little perk because when you weaken enemies, you can do a lot more damage on them, and now it is not specifically on a void subclass. We are able to do it with these void weapons that have Withering Gaze, and something like this or a void sniper is perfect for throwing this Withering Gaze on, because then you can juice damage, especially with this heavy right here with the perks that we have on in the 4th column, plus that Veist Stinger. Second option, and pretty much interchangeable with Withering Gaze, if you're going for that weakening aspect, go with that, but Envious Arsenal is probably overall the better choice depending on the situation. Withering Gaze might be better, but overall more useful, probably Envious Assassin right here, dealing damage with both weapons before readying. This one refills it from reserves, so when we do run out of ammo, we do have bait and switch obviously in the next column. So Envious Arsenal, bait and switch, absolutely disgusting combo, just kind of pairs intrinsically perfect. Now the 2 perks that I'm talking about that are very similar are Envious Assassin and Reconstruction. Envious Assassin right here, defeating targets with other weapons before drawing. This one, transfer ammos to the magazine from the reserves, effectively overflowing the magazine based on the number of targets that we defeat. So when we have Envious Assassin with bait and switch, it's a very good combination as well, especially since we have that Veist Stinger, because it'll continuously shoot for quite some time when you do have this thing overflowed. Reconstruction, on the other hand, this weapon slowly reloads itself over time up to double the capacity, so both Envious Assassin and Reconstruction are going to overflow our magazine. Envious Assassin, you have to get defeats with other either weapons to overflow it, reconstruction, it'll overflow over time. So totally up to you. It's a personal preference. Both are very good. And with the Veist Stinger origin trait on this linear fusion, we're going to be able to take advantage of the overflow aspect of both of these perks. Very, very good for this third column. So again, a lot of different options. I think for me, probably the most useful or the most adaptive, if you will, that can be used in any different situation is probably going to be Envious Arsenal. But Withering Gaze, very good for that weakening, and then Reconstruction Envious Assassin, also very good because of the overflow combination with the origin trait Veist Stinger. Now, fourth column, again, we got a lot of different options that we could throw on here, but first off, I'm going to go with Bait and Switch, which I think is the best option for overall with that 30% damage that we are getting on this bad boy with Envious Arsenal. Probably the best combination perk to throw on it with the third column, but Bait and Switch, of course, when we do damage with all of our equipped weapons, we're going to do that increased damage for a short period of time. So this Veist Stinger, Envious Arsenal, probably my 5 out of 5, if you will, for this weapon for the PvE realm. Precision Instrument, second choice for me. Dealing sustained damage increases precision damage, so we can get that to stack up to 25% in the precision damage increase. So pretty nice again for that sustained damage, especially if we do have the overflow in Envious Assassin or Reconstruction, or even with Envious Arsenal, we can get it to switch on and off. But you know, as soon as we take this away, we do lose some of those stacks, so gotta be prepared for that. But a very good option. I think I would pair Precision Instrument with either Reconstruction or Envious Assassin. Last option in the fourth column would be Frenzy. Being in combat for an extended time gives us increased damage handling and reload. Reload is super nice at 100 for this weapon, and that 15% blanket damage across all enemies, not just bosses like Vorpal would do, is a very good choice because you can use it on champions, mini bosses, everything with that Veist Stinger overflow. Also a very good option, so you can really crank out the damage with Frenzy. But overall, I would say Bait and Switch with Envious Arsenal is probably the best combination and most useful overall. With, if you're going with Precision Instrument as your pick for the fourth column, I would throw on Reconstruction or Envious Assassin for that overflow aspect. It's the same thing with Frenzy, really. I would throw on Frenzy with either Reconstruction or Envious Arsenal as well, but I would give this thing a solid 4.8 out of 5 with this weapon. Damage wise, super juicy, feels really good with that weakening aspect and Withering Gaze. That's what mine had on, was Withering Gaze with Bait and Switch, and I was feeling very juicy in the Tomb of Elders right here. It was Contest of Elders, so very fun little aspect that we can throw on this bad boy. So again, use this thing for PvE, absolutely daps people up. Now for PvP, not as good obviously as in the PvE realm, but it is still a linear fusion, and you can rail Guardians pretty good with it. You just got to be good with your sniper obviously, and take it a little simple. You're not just rushing in there like you are with a grenade launcher, with an LMG, stuff like that. But I'm going with a small bore and the charge time masterwork for us, because small bore, again, range and stability on the 3-round burst feels the best for me inside of the Crucible. Plus we wanted to shoot as fast as possible, that's why we went with the masterwork of charge time. Liquid Coil, increase the charge time by that little bit, but it really doesn't affect it because of how these perks kind of cancel each other out. But we're getting a little bit more damage, of course, so a very good way to deal with those Guardians in their super, in wells, stuff like that. 2 different perks in the third column for PvP. We got Keep Away as our first one. Increased reload range accuracy when no targets are in close proximity. Definitely the best one in my personal opinion with this, because like I said, gotta be patient with this, kind of sitting around and back in the corners because of how this thing works, almost like a sniper. You can go a little bit closer than a sniper in those mid-range shots with this, but you gotta prep with that charge time. Keep Away feels just right. Moving Target is our second option in the third column right here. Increased movement speed, target acquisition when moving. So if you're a slidey boy, away with this, you can definitely throw this on, but overall, I think keep away is definitely the better option for the third column. Now, first off, in the fourth column right here, we're gonna have ourselves Final Blows with High Ground. Grant ourselves a damaging bonus. Attacking targets from higher ground immediately grants the maximum stacks, so we get that to 25%, I believe, inside of the Crucible, or it's a 10% increase depending on what you stacks are going for. So definitely a very good perk to have on for this weapon. Me personally probably like Frenzy as your #1 choice in the fourth column for the PvP realm. We're getting that nice damage buff, like I said, 15% across the board with that 100 handling, 100 reload, also pretty solid for the Crucible in my personal opinion. So Frenzy would be my personal choice for this for the Crucible realm. Last but certainly not least, we got our 10% damage increase, or 20% in the Crucible, with this Vorpal weapon against those bosses in their super, or players in their super, I should say. So we are going to be using this definitely to take out those wells, to take out those void supers coming at us for sure. So Vorpal, absolutely disgusting as well for the Crucible, but overall, really like this weapon in the Crucible as well. Feels very stable. If you're liking the way, like I said, patient playing in the back kind of deal, would probably give this like a 4.2. It felt pretty good in my personal opinion. Was playing a pretty sweaty team. Didn't get heavy as often as I wanted to, but when I did get it, got my defeats and was feeling good even on like close hip fire. So very good weapon for both PvE, PvP. Definitely better for the PvE realm with some very fun, very good perks. So go farm out all of the cookies that you're going to be baking. Go get yourself those rewards from Grandma Levante, giving yourself some of those free gifts. Give yourself some focusing ability with the Dawning Spirit. Make sure you're using that Starfarer M7 with the ship. Give yourself some extra ingredients, stuff like that. But again, appreciate all you guys for coming back to the channel. As always, means a lot to me, means a lot to the channel. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe. Helps me out, helps the channel out a bunch as well. So again, really appreciate all you guys. Happy dawning. We got ourselves a build tomorrow, and then we got ourselves the Zypher sword after that.